Well, greetings everyone and welcome to the Backyard Tabletop. My name is Jacob. I am here with a very good friend of mine, Kurtis. He's over here. Yeah.
Me?
I sometimes find Kurtis in the wild from time to time. I just kind of pull him into this room. He gets a little confused sometimes, but, you know.
Pretty small in here.
It's only for a little bit, I promise.
There's no doors. How did I get in here?
That's not important. I think what is important, Kurtis, is Dungeons and Dragons. You see, this podcast is all about Dungeons. This podcast is all about a game that Kurtis and I play in, but we're in two different games. I play in a Saturday game, Kurtis plays in a Friday game, and we like to sit down and talk about it because we are two best friends that don't play in each other's games, so we want an excuse to talk about it. And this is what we do now.
That was fantastically done, Jacob. Well done.
Thank you. This is why Kurtis is on this podcast with me.
Well, strange new things is your podcast is now on Wednesdays. For a short time.
Oh yeah.
I mean your game is now on Wednesdays for a short time.
Yeah, I guess the illusion has been broken now. Yeah, for the summertime we will be meeting on Wednesdays. It just works a little bit better for peoples with families that don't have kids in school and they need their Saturday mornings in order to do stuff. You know, not calling out anyone in particular.
No, of course not. I'm sure there's plenty of people in that game who have children.
You know, it's very interesting because this was like the first time I playing D&D in the morning, you know? And so we've been playing Saturday mornings, and it's been very different than playing at night. I actually am a little bit more of a morning person. I guess I am a freak of nature.
It's a different feel, though. Because when I started playing D&D, I started playing in the mornings. This should tell you how much I care about D&D. When I first started playing, I didn't have anyone here to play with, so I just found looking for players things on forums on Reddit and Roll20 and stuff, and was just like, I'll play. Great. What time? I don't care. I'll be there. And this guy was like, I've got classes all day, so my only time I can DM is starting at 7 a.m. my time.
Yeah, that's holy cow.
And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And I am on the verge of being what's the word where you can't sleep?
Insomniac?
Insomniac, on the verge. I don't think I could actually call myself an insomniac because sometimes I just straight up fall asleep at 8 o'clock. But I'm on the verge. I just don't sleep well at night, and I'm used to going to sleep at 1 or 2 a.m. and waking up at 10 or 11. Yeah. So waking up at 7 at that time when I was going to college and stuff was
it was nightmarish.
I didn't even do that. I didn't even do that for my mom. So, I like this game. Suffice it to say.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That and I mean the struggles of also getting into D&D when you don't have at the time you didn't have friends that were playing. So the struggles are definitely real.
Well, and it was also I didn't want to play when you guys were home.
Yeah.
Or around.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was it was weird. Because it was still at that point where it was D&D's weird. What is D&D? Nobody knows what it is. This was before the huge blow up that was Critical Role and everything else.
Right.
So
absolutely hilarious. Because I mean, and it was kind of funny. I can't remember how exactly you told me. It was you were listening to Critical Role or something like that. You told me and I've been playing D&D, and I was like, oh, well, I've always wanted to give that a try. I've heard so much about it, and you were like, what?
I was like, really? I was
yeah.
Yeah, I just was like, I did not think that was something. I mean, I thought maybe you might be interested because we had done other like role play style things, like whether it was in
Yeah.
like our MMOs or stuff like that, but it had never been like a big thing that we did.
Yeah.
So I was just like, he's probably not gonna be interested in that. It's too like mathy and nerdy, and yeah.
Well, and I honestly, wow, this is really funny that we got on this tangent because, yeah, I straight up didn't like fully I knew it involved a lot of rules, and I think that's what always intimidated me about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just like, oh my gosh, I have to buy like $60 books, and I have to read through that, and it's like, no, we really didn't. Like,
Well,
I watched Critical Role, that got me kind of up to speed, and then you pretty much taught me the rest, and we sat down and
Yeah.
played. Like,
Well-
and we've learned ever since. You know,
for sure.
it's-
And the most intimidating thing as a new player is writing up your first character sheet. Because
That's true.
your first character sheet, especially the one like I made with you, with me also kind of being new and trying to like walk you through it, was like, I think it took us like 3 hours just to fill out your character sheet.
Indeed,
if not more. And it was that like a full game's worth of time just to fill out a character sheet.
And
Yeah.
to this day, that's usually like, I will, when I teach someone D&D, that's usually the first thing that I will say, like, hey, this is probably going to take close to like 40 minutes, maybe even an hour to just explain
Just to get
all
your
this stuff
character done.
and just to get the character. Now,
Pre-game.
you know, every time we always like are doing like, I could do this for you if you would like, but I think it would help to just teach you the game by going through it. And every time they've just been like blown away by it. This is like, super exciting. It's like, wait, this is a character that I get to make. It's not someone else making it, you know, et cetera, et cetera. The creativity comes alive.
The most intimidating thing for new players is like, wait, how long does this take? Like,
Yeah.
we have to sit here and play for like 3 hours, 4 hours. And it's like, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
hopefully it goes 4 or 5, but you know, like 3 hours is good. And it's like, that's half the day,
What?
dude. And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, isn't it great?
Yeah. we get to not exist in this world for 4 hours. Isn't that great?
I think the reason I was so like totally on board for that is because I just loved playing RPGs like for like 6-8 hours in one day. I would just sit there and play Dragon Age, you know. And so to me, it was not that big of a deal.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I kind of was used to that. This is also college days for me, was when like the Old Republic MMO, the Star Wars Old Republic MMO was like prime time. And so that was the time of Jake's life where, I would like play that pretty much when I got up until I had to go to work. And then I'd play it a little bit more when I got back from work. And it was, So I was already kind of used to that. And now this is just something
sometimes how much you actually played that game. Because I always think of myself as like the big gamer between us. But like you played Star Wars The Old Republic like crazy. You've completed way more stuff in that game than I have.
Yeah.
It blows me away.
I loved that game. I love that game.
Hey, it still exists. You can play it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I know it just went through an update like a year ago or something.
All that to say, I think there was something I was trying to say there, which is that when we first started, where was I going with this?
I'm trying to remember. This was just a great little tangent, though. I loved it. Just how we got into D&D. Like,
how did we start? Jake, leave all this in. How did we start this?
Yeah, 100.
I think we started by you saying something about me introducing you into the game, and then I was going to say something about...
Oh, we were talking about changing, like, because from Saturday mornings to
morning
Wednesday
play.
evenings.
That's where the tangent started.
That's what
I was trying to say. What I was trying to get at was that playing in the morning has a totally different feel to playing in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
Like playing in the evening, it's like you're done with your day, you're excited to be there, and it's just like you get to just sit down and relax and chill and play the game. Whereas playing in the morning is like, I gotta get up. where's my motivation? Who's my character? What am I doing?
What's going on?
Where is everything? What do I know? What do I not know? Okay, great. All right, we're done playing. I have a whole day ahead of me now. Like
100%.
Personally, playing in the morning, I can't stand it. It's awful.
You're not a fan.
I'll do it to play, but it's just like having the rest of the day ahead of you after the game is like,
oof.
Man, I'm not happy about this.
Basically, with me, I don't know if I have a favorite. I think it depends on what time. I think I am more of a evening player. I don't like because right now we're playing from 8:30 to about 11:30, and to me that's getting a little late in my opinion. I think my ideal time would be like 7 to 10 or 7 to 11.
For me, the sweet spot is eat dinner, play the game. It's like right after dinner. So it's
right after dinner.
Like 6:30, 7 o'clock. Yeah, is like the perfect time to play D&D because then it's like you're done around 10:30, you know, and then everybody can still chill out and hang out for like an hour if some people are late people, if some people are early people, 10:30s, you know, like
got
right
families
at the end, and then you're like, all right, I'm out. You know, but at least it's like in the middle where it's not like, and you have to be here until midnight or later.
which is rough, you know, and I guess that's also the difference when it comes to online play and tabletop, you know, because online you could just log off whenever.
Right.
Tabletop, it's like you're going somewhere that's you know,
and the only reason we do play at that time is because our DM literally is halfway across the world. He's like on the opposite end of it.
And he is a great DM, and we will happily do this, like Kurtis said.
No, exactly. We'll happily do it. Like don't take this as me being like, man,
you're immediately gonna get a text after this.
well, but especially for me, because for me it's no problem. I'm totally happy being up till 1 a.m. Like that's my normal, so that's great for me. But I know like for most people it's a little rough. So, but I'm not saying like just how I was saying before, I was happy to get up at 7 a.m. and play D&D because that's how much I care about the game.
Yeah.
So the timing is not a huge deal for me.
Now, why do you think of all the things, Kurtis? Because like, I don't even really remember you like for video games being able to like, I'm going to get up at 7 in the morning and play my favorite video game at the time. Usually it would just be playing all night rather than. So what about D&D is like, you're like, this thing I will get up for.
Here's the thing. If games released at 6 a.m. instead of midnight, I would have been up at 6 a.m. to go get my game at release.
Okay. You know what I mean? That's a fair point.
But like they release at midnight, so you go to the store at midnight and you get your game. Like these ages are long past, by the way, with streaming games and downloading games. It doesn't happen anymore. But it used to be
back in my day.
Back in my day, you would back in my day, you had
we would have to walk
uphill both ways, and then you take your game back home. No, it was like a game. A game would release at midnight at GameStop. It didn't matter if you were East Coast, West Coast. So that meant that everyone on the West Coast was playing their game for an hour already by the time you got to pick up your game at GameStop.
Yeah, lovely.
It all released at midnight, no matter what your time was. And you would go to GameStop. You'd wait in a big, long line. You'd hope to get there first. And if you wanted to be first in line at GameStop, you'd get there at like 10:30. And you'd sit there for an hour and a half and wait in line. And then you get your game, and you go home, and you put it in the disc thing, and then you wait an hour and a half for it to install onto the drive, and then you start your game, and you are playing your game by 1 a.m., and you stay up until 9 a.m. in the morning playing your video game.
Kurtis has broken this down.
That's how we did it. That's how I did it.
He did this a lot, too.
I did it a lot. Did it with Halo, did it with Mass Effect.
Is it just that it's just like especially at the time, it's like, because you didn't play very much, but do you think there's something special about D&D that's just like, yeah, I will change my schedule for? Like, why do you care about the game so much?
That's a hard question. Why do you care about D&D? No, well, because to me it's like, it's almost like it's an RPG but better, because you're doing it with friends.
Yeah,
and it's so much more engaging.
Yeah.
D&D is so much more engaging than like a video game, because you are like personally, like, yeah, in Dragon Age Origins, sure, you can create your character from the ground up, change how they look, change what race they are, change what background in that race that they are, what class, how they look, all that stuff. You can change all that. But no matter what, there is still a box that you're in, you know what I mean? And you're playing a story that is pre-written out, and you're following the lines. And don't get me wrong, it's wonderful, and I love those games, and I love Dragon Age, and I love Mass Effect, and I love all those great RPGs. But with D&D, it's freeing. It's much more engaging because it's live action. It's happening in front of you. You're doing it with other people, which is another thing entirely. Like when you're talking about human to human interaction and the storytelling that's going on there between you and another person. Like the only thing I had ever gotten that feeling from before that was like writing things for videos or for like little skits that we thought about before that, like with you know what I mean? Like that was the only time those like feelings of like the creativity and the back and forth with like storytelling and role playing and those kinds of feelings had ever happened before.
Right.
So there's ways to, it's not like D&D is the only way to get this feeling and enjoy things in this way and be creative in this way. But it's certainly one of the most fun ways to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, to me, it's all about the fact that it's collaborative. It's happening right in front of you in real time. There's no box. I mean, you could say that, but people can say things like, well, the story is the box and the DM is the box and whatever. Like they'll put you on a line. And it's like, sure.
But there's not like pre-written dialogue for you to go into.
Exactly. It's not, or when somebody asks you a question at the bazaar, you don't have three options to talk back. You can say whatever you want, and whatever happens. You know what I mean?
And then the DM is also doing the same thing. He doesn't have like pre-made dialogue options like, oh, when they choose this option, this is what happens. They are oftentimes improving and going with it as well. Exactly. So it's that collaborative thing.
The improvisation and the fact that it's, person to person, like that human connection that you get, that you just can't get no matter what else you're doing.
I know for me it's the community. The fact that it's like, especially in this, and I don't want to sound like the millennial, like it's, oh man, I just don't get to see my friends very often. I don't have many friends, yada yada yada. But this is like a great excuse to see your friends on a somewhat regular basis, right?
For sure.
Whether that be with on a Saturday morning or a Friday night, at least there's some sort of schedule, and sure, you can't make every single one, but it's at least there for you to just to hang out, laugh, and just the endless conversation after the sessions, right? Like Sarah and I will get off the game and just talk about it for like the next hour, like that's when we were playing in the mornings. That's like for the rest of the day, we're basically chatting about stuff that happened in the game, right? And vice versa, when you're at night, you're just laying in bed, just thinking about the game. It's just like,
yeah. And I think a lot of people feel that it's like, well, it's so much of a time sink. You know, you're spending 4 hours playing this game, and then, that's it, and you're done. And it's like, well, I mean, if you think about the people that play like board games, like board game people, that are playing, whatever it is, this crazy board game that's got 16 pages of rules, and everybody's trying to work together against the game, and there's 16 different pieces from the board game that all go together and piece together. Don't get me wrong, I love those board games, and I would love to play them all the time, but D&D is much more satisfying to me, and realistically, if you look at like the parties that you get with those board games, it's like you're going to be there for like 3 to 4 hours. Maybe the game itself only lasts an hour to an hour and a half, but the time that you're spending with each other learning the game and then talking and chilling out afterwards and just hanging out.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about you, but when I go to a game night with friends, I expect to be there for at least like 3 hours, like,
yeah,
it's not like I'm going to be there for an hour and then pop out,
Exactly. No, that's great. Thank you for coming down this memory lane with us, or just getting into our psyche about the game, I guess is a better way to put that.
So here's the other thing about playing in the evening that's so much better, because playing in the morning, it's like, what are you going to do? Like eat breakfast while you play? It's garbage.
Sarah and I did.
Playing in the evening, if you play right after dinner, then you can like have dessert and all sorts of sweet stuff.
Yeah.
And if you're playing
I love making myself a little cup of tea.
If you're playing later in the evening, you can get snacks and chips and things like that. If you're playing in like the early afternoon, you can you can get like the whole stigma around like somebody brings snacks to every D&D thing. It's like, it's just it's part of the culture,
Part of the culture. Do you have a favorite snack for D&D?
I don't snack.
You don't snack. You're not a snacker.
All that being said, I actually really don't like snacking that much during games.
Okay.
I'll get like, here's what I do. I get a drink, and I'll get a drink, and I'll sip on it the whole time we play.
That's literally what I was going to say. I'm a little bit more of a drinker when it comes. I love a good cup of tea. Love cup of coffee.
It might just be because of when we play, because like I said, usually it's like after dinner and everything like that. So you're pretty full. You don't really need snacks. So it might be that it's like I don't feel snacky when we play, but I do like to have a nice drink or something like that. Sometimes I'll get some ice cream.
I will also say it is hard to be a snacker when you are a DM. It's way easier to have a drink on hand than that. And I mean, for those of you, it's like, just go look up Brennan Lee Mulligan's monologue about snacking. And I think that's just a great example of that.
Especially when I'm DMing, I don't like having any snacks. Like even when I'm DMing and it's like we started at 4, and so we're kind of like playing through dinner time. A lot of times what we'll do is like order dinner and it'll come to us and stuff. We get to the end of the game, and I look at my plate, and I realize I've taken like 2 bites out of my food, and it's just sitting there. It's like, when I'm DMing, I don't eat at all, especially snacks. Yeah, I'm not. My body does not exist when I'm DMing until I need to pee, and then that happens, and then I come back.
I gotta go. Yeah. Oh well. At this point, we are going to transition into the world of, I always do, Galarian, right?
Galarian.
That's the Galarian. I always want to say Galaria, but it's Galarian.
No, Galarian.
I don't know why. Galarian. At this point, we are going to transition into the world of Galarian, where the Witches Almond people have just vanquished a dragon.
Which is almond?
Which is almond.
Which is
omen is. We are the witches. We are the witches' almonds, which is apparently a great snack.
Which is omen.
Which is omen. Omen. We are going to see where they have just vanquished a white dragon and made it back to the rebels.
Oh, is that your group name? The Witch's Omen?
The Witch's Omen. Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. I don't think I remember that.
I don't know if I've mentioned it on the podcast, but
I'm sure you have, and I just don't remember. Sometimes I just kind of check out when you're talking.
Well, it's fair. It's fair. Sometimes that's what podcasts are also very good for. Sometimes you just need voices in the background, and if we're those voices in the background for you, I'm happy to be here.
Thanks for not noticing us.
Thank you for not noticing us. We appreciate you. Well, when last we left the Witch's Omen, they had vanquished a dragon.
You keep okay. I'm sorry.
I keep saying Omen, don't I?
Hold on. Sorry. Hold on. You say Omen.
Yeah.
With an L in there, like OLMMEN. You say Olman. You don't put the D at the end. You just say Olman. I'm like,
maybe this is an old dialect that I'm using.
Omen. Like omen.
Like amen, but with an O.
Yeah, but with an O.
With an O. Okay.
Yeah.
The Witch's Omen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Great. We had just vanquished a dragon, a white dragon that was a captain, commander of the guard here in Whitethrone, if you all remember that. If you remember that as well, Kurtis.
I do remember that. I remember you killed a dragon, and
it was quite an epic fight. It was very fun. And also in this tower, there was a singer, a very famous singer named Bella, who we rescued. Yes. We managed to find her.
Yes, she had been kidnapped by the dragon.
Indeed.
Because the dragon was like, everybody loves you. So
exactly.
Precious, so you're in my
just like so. Because apparently, white dragons in Pathfinder have their horde consists of things that other people find valuable. And apparently this white dragon thought Bella was that and kidnapped her. So we rescued her and we made it back to the rebels' quarters with Bella in tow. We found this out after the session. And our characters have no idea. We're never going to go back to this tower. I just thought I would throw this in because I distinctly remember Dip telling us, apparently there were a bunch of other hostages in that tower that we got out.
You proactively got out.
We had no idea. I believe
you guys were like, we got her, we're good, let's get out.
We had to sneak out because there were other guards in this tower. Because if you recall, we scaled up the side of the tower. We did not take like the quote unquote traditional way of going upstairs floor by floor, which we would have found more people.
Yeah.
So
you're like, sorry guys, she's famous, you don't matter.
Oh, the class system is definitely real. We can only pray.
Hey, when in
Whitethrone.
When in Whitethrone, do as the Whitethronians do. And be
evil, apparently. But anyway, I just thought we'd throw that in. The only thing that we can do is maybe pray to the gods that because of the chaos that happened for us killing the dragon, they were able to escape. Because maybe the ogres, trolls there had to leave. So anyway, we make it back to the rebels hideout. And that evening, now they made it back in like the afternoon, so there was some time of wonderful little rest, and they got together. The quartermaster that we've kind of become friends with here. Essentially, I think the quartermaster's name was Ralph, or Rolf, ROLF, I believe, Rolf.
Rolf.
I believe that's what his name was. We've kind of become friends with him, and so we just kind of were chatting with him, and apparently we got kind of the morale up a little bit. And that evening, we all had a celebration of us slaying the dragon. We also had a famous singer, Bella, there. So we there was a little performance that happened that evening along with the kind of somewhat celebration. Now, these are rebels, so they're fighting oppression. They don't necessarily have a lot, but they had what they could spare, and they had a little fun celebration that evening. It was actually quite a fun night of roleplay. Like, for example, Dara's a bard, and so his backstory, he traveled a lot. He was a traveling minstrel, if you will. And he used to work at like theaters and such. So seeing famous performers. So this kind of like had a kind of a calling moment for Dara to see Bella perform in that way, which was really cool, singing. You're staring at me quite intensely, Kurtis. Did I say something?
Yeah, it was a fun night. It was a fun night of roleplay. Did anyone score?
So, no. But, well, okay, actually, I take that back. Actually, I take that back. I take that back immensely because we learned the reason why.
So, no, but that's the best 3-word response after that question.
Oh, man. I am trying, let's see. Oh, Solvig was her name, the cleric, if you remember. We actually did.
Yes.
The reason why we went to
the cleric with the rose.
Correct.
On the emblem,
correct.
Right?
Yes. Yep. Who she serves the Everbloom.
I remember the goddess Everbloom.
Yeah. There's we had a whole podcast about us trying to pronounce the name, particularly Jake trying to pronounce the name. So the Everbloom. We learned that the reason why she sent us to go rescue Bella, were they are apparently lovers.
Whoa!
I do take that back, Kurtis. Someone did score, and it was Bella and
just nobody in the party.
Wah, wah. There was some fun role play, and this is kind of going back to there was a kind of an intense moment, if you recall back. Oh man, this was quite a while ago, with Nixia and Dara, where Nixia had kind of blamed Dara, and I can't quite remember, of kind of just being a performer, not really trenched in the reality of the world, and kind of always pushing for fame. And there was more to it than that, and I can't quite recall in this moment exactly. But Dara did come back to Nixia and explain that it's not about the fame for him. It's about the laughter and about the community that kind of goes on. That's why he traveled so much. He didn't stay in one place to grow his fame. He just liked to learn people, learn about people and such. That was kind of why he traveled. So it's about the joy. It's about the joy. And so this night was really cool because he got to kind of prove that. And so there was a really cool moment where because Bella opened actually, which was quite a fun little role play moment that, Bella being famous, Dara kind of was expecting him to open for her, but it got a little flipped.
Oh.
So it was very fun. So she did a performance with Dara kind of playing a little bit on his lute, and Nixia, because of a wand that Dara found, I believe in the tower. It was a you spend a charge and orchestral like music will play. And so Nixia got to hold the wand and kind of spend a charge and have some orchestral music come in. So that was really fun role play. And then right after that, or really fun performance, right after that, Dara got to tell the story of them vanquishing the dragon. So that was a really fun role play moment for me of just being able to explain all that was going on. And so in that moment, I kind of just said, hey, Dara at this moment, like kind of locks eyes with Nixia. And you see a smile that kind of just shows it's like, this is what he wanted. Because at the end, I rolled pretty good on performance. It was like a 20 something. And it was just like with the cheers and such, he kind of locks eyes with Nixia and kind of shows it's like, it's not about the fame. It's about the laughter that's going on, because there was quite a fun laughter. He had a fun little cheeky moment with the journal that he found of the various states of the Yadviga in undress form. So it's very fun.
Great. I love it. Yeah, that's so fun. It just makes me think of like the rebels in Star Wars at the end, where everybody's just like celebrating, and it's like, hey, we got to win here, and that doesn't happen super often. So let's just like, who cares?
We're going for it.
Let's just have a good time.
Yeah. And that's basically what it was. It was very fun. Zav had some, Xavier, our barbarian, had some really fun moments where he was arm wrestling the quartermaster. So that was going on. Classic barbarian stuff. And then our wizard, Saurian, actually, like, for the first time, we see him kind of let down his guard with the rebels. Because he's, being a kind of a hard ass, I think, is a great way to put kind of how he is. He's very serious. He understands that, like, he's from this Whitethrone area, so he kind of knows how things run around here. So for him to act, for us to actually see him let his guard down, to actually start learning the rebels' names and stuff like that, and talking with them, was also really interesting. So it was just this was a great moment of role play for all of us. And then Solveig and Bella, they score, and the rest of us go get a long rest.
They score. Did you point? Did you point? Sorry, that's a Game Grumps reference for people who don't understand. That's wonderful. Yep. I love it.
So with that,
I love a good celebration session.
Yeah.
It's like, hey guys, we did good. Let's just stop being adventurers for a minute and just live for a few
just
minutes.
Be people for a second. Just be people. And
so good. And I love those sessions.
I love them as well. And especially in this, it's like a lot of the game is kind of us traveling a lot. So it is kind of cool that we got to, for a night, kind of have some company and settle and have more than just our party, which was kind of cool. Because, I mean, you get some great interaction with each other, but adding some NPCs also is kind of fun to also see how Nixia acts with other people, and how Zav, and just see that fun interaction of different types of people, if you will. So yes, that was a great evening of celebration, and then we all get a long rest, and the next morning we are heading to the market square, where we believe the dancing hut, Baba Yaga's hut, is located in the center. Now, the dancing hut. So this is the interesting thing. So essentially, the dancing hut was placed in the market, from what we understand, as kind of a trophy by the queen. Oh, by the way, Dara did give the journal of the state of undress of all the Yadviga to the cleric, to Solveig, so she can potentially use it for some blackmail purposes, in case you're wondering. So that's where that journal went. So Dara no longer has that. But in the market square, the hut was kind of placed there as a means of a trophy. The queen put it there as basically, she has vanquished Baba Yaga, and look, I have her hut. Now, it has kind of been as kind of a means, I believe later, and it kind of gets described as like the brush that kind of keeps coming up in the market square is kind of a defense mechanism of the hut itself, because every day the winter guard comes in and cuts down the foliage that keeps growing up every night, and then every morning it regrows, and so or every night it regrows, so they have to like keep cutting it down, and it just keeps coming up. We learn also later that it's apparently like a 7th level Wall of Thorns spell. but it's over the entire marketplace, and it's kind of something that the hut kind of is doing. So it's pretty much have taken over. So there's only a few buildings that are left. But we make our way there, and we come across guards that are trolls. We fight them, and we vanquish them.
Like literal trolls, or like douchebag trolls?
Like D&D monster trolls.
Okay. like resistant, like weak to fire and heal and that kind of trolls.
Yes, I do believe so. I believe these are ice trolls, or they could be ogres. I could be wrong. They could be ogres.
Ogres?
Yeah,
well,
they're totally different. I wonder in my notes here if I have the no. They are 3 ice trolls. Were the first people that we dispatched.
That's like the first thing. That's like the first non-human enemy you fight in Skyrim is an ice troll.
Oh yeah, isn't it? When you're going up the 1,000 steps, right?
Yeah.
Or the 7,000 steps.
You're an ice troll.
7,000.
10,000 steps. I think it's 10,000.
You could be right.
1,000 or 10,000.
Something. Yes. So we fight 3 of them, and we do dispatch them. Now, this is where it also gets kind of somewhat interesting as well, because it kind of very similar to how we got into Whitethrone with there's a map and we kind of go through the map and kind of certain things happen to us as we kind of explore the map. That's what kind of happens here. So there's an entire map of the square, and we basically kind of treat it like a dungeon as we make our way through. And so we immediately take a left and kind of start exploring that way, and we come across a strange silvery pool of water that essentially is over this. It's almost like a snow globe, if you will. Has kind of, there's no glass that you can see, but there's ripples on the water. There's the outer edges just rushing with droplets of water as it's kind of flying off the water into the sky. It's like this whirlpool of kind of craziness is going on this pond. There's so
it's not like a bubble of water, but it's like the water is raining upwards.
Yeah, it's kind of but there's also a rush of wind that's going around.
Whoa.
It's very very interesting. But here is where we come across the first Dawn Piper. This is a fey creature that has some element things about it, and I'll kind of explain probably more as we kind of go into, because this one we actually originally ignored because it was ignoring us. We tried to talk to it. There's points where we actually step onto the water. There's the Zav steps onto the water and goes to try and talk to him, and he's kind of ignoring us. He makes eye contact and he kind of looks at us with disgust. But as long as we don't talk to him, we tried to talk to him, but nothing happened. And so we just kind of ignored him and moved on. We didn't know what was going on there. It was just a very interesting sight. But we continue on. We come across, we get ambushed by some gremlins. Nuglub, if you will. Nuglub gremlins is the official name. Yeah.
Were they furry all over and little?
I don't remember exactly how. This was a while ago, so I don't remember exactly how they look.
Did they sing a song called Yub Nub?
No, they did not. We totally could have done that though. That would have been an awesome Star Wars reference. Nub nub. Yub nub. I could hear that tune. Oh dear. No, they were not Ewoks. They were gremlins that had ambushed us. Our barbarian had tripped a tripwire. Trees came falling down. It was quite an ambush. I believe we vanquished one and one got away. We end that trail, right there on the trail, there was a wagon that was holding about a half dozen human corpses. It was quite gruesome. and it's like we didn't know too much about them. Apparently, they were. It looked like a kind of a merchant and his family, and they were kind of seemed to be fleeing. We don't really know if they got just caught by some of the guards, or maybe it was actually by the Gremlins themselves. But it was kind of a gruesome little scene. It kind of did leave us to kind of like, okay, so the market square is not. It's not necessarily being patrolled very well, if you will. It seems to be kind of like there's some stuff going on. There's these fey creatures that we're kind of seeing. There's gremlins. It's kind of like it does not seem like the guard is holding this place very well.
So it's almost like they hold the border, but whatever's going on inside, they're just like it's crazy.
It's kind of crazy.
Whatever happens.
Yeah. So that was kind of the fun thing about this. It was also at the end of this journey, as we kind of took that left and kind of made our way past the pool, we kind of continued on. We came to a dead end. It was at this point where there was some discussion going on, and Dara was kind of like, well, I wonder if the Wall of Thorns could be like illusions, right? Like maybe, or not all of, like, some of it's real. Yeah, we've definitely seen some of it's real, but what if this place is actually like an illusion? Maybe we can continue to go through this part, because it's kind of weird that there's a dead end, right? And Nixia makes a quite dramatic action and says like, okay, and she charges straight into the Wall of Thorns here. Indeed, they were not. This was not illusions, and she took quite a bit of damage. Because this is at the point where we don't know, but Dip is like, yeah, it's like a 7th level Wall of Thorns spell, and so that's like it was like 8d10 or something like that, or 10d8. Sarah just shouted at me at 76 points of damage. 76 points of damage. Sarah just shouted at me.
That's so good. I love it.
It was rough, and that was kind of a moment for Dara. That was I remember role playing that moment of just like, Nixia, what are you what are you doing? And so it's just a great role play moment of like Dara is kind of like, okay, I need to kind of be careful about my charisma, if you will. I can't just willy-nilly just start rattling off things that I could potentially be. Yeah.
You're, at this point, like, you're the bard, and your party trusts you to be their inspiration.
Right.
And so if you're like, hey, that wall might be fake, we should try and figure that out. Somebody might just straight up be like, yeah, you're right. Let me try and figure it out with my face.
And so it happened, and I just remember as Dara, I was just like, oh my gosh, what did I just do? Because it like, and also like, if you think about it, like Dip was kind of explaining it, like, so Nixia has mithril armor, a mithril half plate armor. And so he's like, it didn't like completely tear away flesh, but she looks incredibly rough. Getting pulled out of the thorns. She nearly died, took a lot of damage. I think also Saurian had used some, because he's an abjuration wizard, so he was able to negate some of the damage, I believe. So
yeah, with his rune, his abjuration rune.
Yeah, abjuration's a great support wizard.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
Very cool. So that was that. We took a short rest there because, ouch. But when we finished that, we backtracked. We came back to kind of where we had taken that left, and now we kind of pushed further up into the marketplace. And we came across a small house that was on branches of trees. It was kind of perched up there. And this is where we kind of came across a family. Now this was interesting because up to this point we were kind of like there's a lot weird stuff going on. We were running into fey creatures, and then there were some crazy like gremlins that we found, and a bunch of dead bodies back that way. And so when we came across a family, I know, at least from my perspective, I was kind of like, is this real? Like, it's just a normal family. Apparently, because what had happened was they were calling for help. There was a son and daughter, and inside, apparently, their father was trapped and had maybe broken something. I can't quite remember, but he was trapped. I think he was hurting. I think he was hurt. And so the kids were calling for help, and so we're kind of like, this is odd. And also, this is like a Baba Yaga theme stuff. So like when kids start calling for help.
This doesn't remind me of anything from Curse of Strahd at all, as Jacob, who has played Curse of Strahd and like, run through Death House.
Are they ghosts? Exactly. So we kind of have this brief moment like, do we? But we wound up helping them. Dara has a cloak of useful items, useful things, and on there is a 10-foot ladder. So we pull that out, and I believe the house is it was 15 feet up, so it didn't quite reach. So Nixia, being a rune fighter, uses her rune to grow 10 feet, and she kind of holds the ladder up a little bit.
Whoa, that's awesome.
It was really cool. She uses that quite a bit, and it's pretty fun, thematic.
Yeah, for sure.
Rune fighters are so cool.
Yeah, rune knights are great.
Rune knights, thank you. Very, very cool. So she kind of holds the ladder while we kind of make our way up. We also had to do some persuasion to let them help, because it was hard to we were trying to ask the kids to come down, but they wound up having to jump. And so Nixia, being tall, wound up catching one, and then we had to convince the other child to jump. And the father we also had to convince. But we get the kids down safely. That's when Dara climbs up with the ladder and goes to help the father out, and we get him down. It was a whole ordeal, but we wound up saving the family, and that felt really good. Because,
nice.
This is an evil place. So they were very thankful.
Yeah.
Continuing on, this is when we came across the where we believe the hut is. It's kind of at the center of the marketplace, but in front of where the hut the hut's kind of on the far side. And in order to get through a bunch of foliage that had grown up, right in between was a huge, gigantic portal. We learned later that it was a reality siphoning portal.
Whoa.
So, very interesting, weird stuff going on here.
Crazy reality warping Fey nonsense.
Fey stuff is going on. A rippling sphere that had a twirling darkness and twisted shadows. And it was surrounding the trees, and it seemed to lean forward in the area. It was very, it almost seemed to kind of be sucking in, reality around it. Our wizard had to do some arcane checks. But yeah, it was, super cool. It was, we didn't know too much about it, but that's pretty much what he learns, that it's basically some sort of portal or gateway. And we can't get around it, because unless we want to charge through a bunch of a wall of thorns, which Nixia basically had proven that we can't do that, or try to go into the portal, and who knows what will happen if we do that. So we continue on moving our way, and this is where we came across floating chunks of stone in the air.
Avatar.
There were 6 of them that were floating around, and on top of that, this is where we saw the second.
And Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah. So what we have thus far is a whirlwind, the very first one, and this one is stones. And on top of a floating stone that was here was the second Dawn Piper. And so we tried to talk. Oh. We tried to talk to this one, and again, he was kind of ignoring us when Dara started to try, because The first one had it, and this one we kind of noticed as well that they have flutes, and that's kind of where the pipers are coming into play.
Pipers.
So seeing that, it's like, okay, there's musical instruments going on here. So Dara starts to play a song, and I start playing a song that's in Sylvan. I have a book, I have a notebook with a list of a D20 different types of songs, and on one of them is an old like hymn that's written in Sylvan. So he starts playing that one. Seeing that I speak Sylvan, that's when this Dawn Piper starts talking to us in Sylvan.
Aha!
And this is a very interesting line as well. This is what he told us. So right here, he says, "Turn back, mortals. You cannot pass. We have come to claim reality, and we'll take the crone's hovel with us. Turn away and live your lives in peace and safety, unburdened by the heavy weight of relevance."
Unburdened by the heavy weight of relevance. That's so good.
Such a great line. Our DM loves that line. So this is where he basically starts fighting us, and we fight back, and we win. This is where Dara gets a new musical instrument. He takes the flute that this one had, also a masterwork rapier. So Dara has that now. And that, I think, is where I will call it for today, because I am realizing we are getting close to the end of the podcast itself. But that's where I will end. So so far we have come across 2 Dawn Pipers, and apparently some whirlwind and earth-like relatedness.
Different elements, yeah.
Different elements, weird fae-like creatures, and yeah.
Well, very quickly before we finish off, we're gonna have to start a new segment called Dip's Notes.
We really do. We really do. I told Dip at this point I really should start crediting him as a producer.
Right? Yeah. So a few things about my stories I told last time.
Go for it.
For one, I think I in there mentioned that the travel that we were taking to this inn was like 2 days ish. It wasn't. It was like 8 hours.
Okay.
The travel to Harse is about 2 days, but just to this like roadside inn that we went to is about 8 hours. So it wasn't as big of a trip. It was 1 day trip.
Okay. 1 day trip.
He said that I covered about 6 sessions worth of information in that one episode. So I did gloss over some very interesting roleplay things, which I did want to mention here.
Please do. In fact, I honestly think we should have a segment called Dip's Notes. I think that's a great idea.
Yes, for sure. So at one point, when we came back to the city, the people known as, or not when we came back, it was before or when we came back, but the guards that were the Queen's Guard, known as the Grey Maidens, there was like an announcement about them that we went to. Some of us went to. And Squish, being the bard that he is, started basically like asking questions from the crowd about whether these people were actually here to help or all of that kind of stuff. Basically trying to get himself killed.
Wonderful.
And he had kind of like a stare down with Sabina, who is like the head guard of these Grey Maidens and also like the Queen's right-hand bodyguard.
Oh, yes. Yes.
However, Elora, who is our cleric, and I both kind of talked him down and talked Sabina down and kind of like ushered him out. At one point, we were like completely surrounded by these Grey Maidens, and we were like, okay, let's chill. Everybody chill here. So that happened. That was a big moment. The other thing was at one point we all had lunch like together at this place. And everybody like very specifically went to the Pathfinder wiki to find like Corvosan dishes to describe like what their characters liked and everything. It was so much fun, just like roleplay, because that's the thing you don't think about very much is like what food does my character eat and those kinds of things. And we all got a little bit of moment to like role play our favorite foods and things like that. It was very fun.
Also the fact that Paizo Pathfinder has like what cuisine regional would be foods in each. That's so great. Yeah.
The other thing was after we helped the sick girl, we talked about that, right?
Yes.
After we helped the sick girl, that cleric that was there, his name was Ashani. He was a cleric of Abadar, who is the god of like commerce and cities.
Gotcha.
After we helped the girl, we actually escorted this man back to the bank, also known as the Vault of Abadar. Which is basically the temple, but they run the bank because they're like their god is the god of commerce, so they run the bank. We escorted him back to this place, and this was our first exposure to like how bad this disease already is, this plague. Because we got to this temple and there was like a crowd, like a few hundred people all crowding around the outside of the temple, like begging for healing and cures.
Wow. Okay.
And so we had to kind of like slip in so that there wasn't like a riot of like, why do they get to go in? Why don't we get to go? What are you guys doing here? Like it was like, imagine like a run on the bank, but for like temples and people that are sick.
Oh, no.
Like, all these people are rushing to the temples trying to be cured, and there's just not enough priests to help them.
Oh, no. Okay.
And so there's these, like, huge crowds outside these temples. Anyway, those were the three, like, major things that kind of happened that I did not mention.
No worries.
Real big story points.
I think that's great. Like, also, like, Dip's notes will lead into, like, the teaser on next episode on the Backyard Tabletop. Because we'll be jumping back over to Carvosa next time.
Yeah. Excited.
If you made it this far into the podcast, thank you so much for being here. We really do appreciate you listening.
The secret word for this episode, for the comment is, I'm making this a thing. The secret comment is Piper.
That is a great one. That's a great one. Leave the secret comment, Piper, down in the comments. Thank you so much for being here. I have been Jake.
I've been Kurtis.
We will see you next time.
Goodbye.
Okay, bye.